First contact misfire. Lieutenant Marcus Vance had always believed he was good with people. Charming, disarming, maybe even a little too relaxed for a ranking officer, but he got results. So when Command selected him to escort a Xelari dignitary during the first Earth-Xelari diplomatic exchange aboard the Vigilant Horizon, he took it as a compliment. He had no idea what he was walking into. Commander Thalzia stepped onto the human ship like a carved sculpture given life. Tall, almost translucent skin shot through with faint blue bioluminescent patterns, eyes like twin galaxies locked behind a thin membrane of shimmering light. Marcus had seen holograms of her species, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. "Welcome aboard," Marcus said, offering his best smile. She gave a precise nod. "I acknowledge your greeting." Okay, not the warmest start, but not hostile. He launched into the tour, the bridge engineering the observation deck. She asked sharp questions. Her voice was like vibrating glass, musical but unreadable. Marcus did his best to answer, but her unblinking gaze was unnerving. By the time they reached the terrarium dome, he was struggling to maintain his usual confidence. "This is one of the crew's favorite spots," he said, gesturing to the wide, domed view of stars above a ring of simulated Earth flora. "Humans like green stuff. Makes us feel grounded. You folks have anything like this?" Thalzia's head tilted. "Our species evolved in bioluminescent caverns. Our grounding is spatial orientation and thermal resonance." He laughed. "Sounds like something from a sci-fi novel." She blinked slowly. "This is science fiction to your ancestors." "Fair," he admitted. There was a pause. Silence lingered, like mist. Marcus turned to look at her more closely. Her eyes glimmered in the light, shifting like the surface of a calm sea under starlight. Without thinking, he said it. "You have beautiful eyes." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then everything happened. Thalzia stiffened. A sudden pulse of violet light erupted from the fine lines along her cheekbones. A faint hum filled the air. Her pupils dilated, a halo of light flaring behind them. An energy ripple shimmered in a protective halo around her, like a shield reflexively deploying. Marcus took a step back, hands up. Whoa. I meant that as a compliment. A human thing. We say that all the time, it's just, polite." Her voice had lost its calm. "You spoke the sacred words of binding without ritual. Without intent declaration. Without sponsorship. What binding? What's sacred?" "Lady, I said you have nice eyes. Not that I want to marry you." Her head turned sharply. "Marriage is primitive. Bonding is eternal." Before he could say another word, she turned and walked away, fast, elegant, and with enough command presence that two nearby ensigns instinctively stepped aside. Marcus was left standing alone in the terrarium, heart racing, his compliment echoing in his ears like the dumbest line ever uttered on a diplomatic mission. 6 hours later, Marcus found himself seated in the debriefing room, trying to explain himself to Captain Rios and the human Xelari liaison, Ambassador Chen. "You complimented her?" Rios asked, arms crossed. "Yes. That's all. I said she had beautiful eyes. I didn't know it was the Xelari equivalent of a marriage proposal." Chen groaned. "It's worse than that. On Xelari worlds, direct references to one's eyes are considered metaphysically intimate. It's like telling someone you want to spiritually merge." Marcus blinked. "Seriously?" "She didn't take offense," Rios muttered, reading a data pad. "In fact, she filed a request." Marcus leaned forward. "Request for what?" "My removal." "No," Rios said slowly. "A reassignment. She wants you posted aboard the Sovereign Light as part of an accelerated cultural integration program." Marcus stared. "That sounds like a polite way of saying courtship trial." Chen looked uncomfortable. "I believe it might be exactly that." Marcus leaned back, exhaled, and stared at the ceiling. "I told an alien woman she had nice eyes. Now I'm accidentally engaged." Rios smirked. "Congratulations, Lieutenant. You've made history." Interstellar courtship? Lieutenant Marcus Vance didn't pack for romance. He packed a field kit, a backup translator chip, and 3 pairs of socks. What he didn't pack was a strategy for surviving a sudden, accidental interspecies courtship. Now he stood stiffly at the docking port of the Sovereign Light, the Xelari diplomatic cruiser, adjusting his collar and trying not to look like a man walking into an arranged marriage he hadn't agreed to. The airlock hissed open. Commander Thalzia was there waiting. She wore an ornate uniform, more ceremonial than functional, with glimmering circuit-like embroidery across the shoulders. Her luminous eyes scanned him from head to toe, unreadable as ever. "Lieutenant Vance," she said. "You have arrived." He offered a sheepish smile. "As ordered, Commander." Her brow ridge lifted ever so slightly.
"No."
"As invited." A pair of Xelari guards escorted them through the ship's corridors, smooth, pulsing with bioluminescent veins in the walls. The ship itself felt alive, like walking inside a breathing crystal. Every now and then, he caught passing glances from other crew members. Not hostile, but curious. Amused, even. They knew. In Thalzia's private briefing chamber, she dismissed the guards and gestured for Marcus to sit across from her. A floating interface spun to life between them, displaying 2 spheres, Xelari and Earth cultures, overlapping with points of convergence. "You must understand," she said, folding her hands in front of her, "Xelari do not engage in casual bonding. To complement one's ocular resonance is to declare intention, to propose alignment of thought and soul." "You spoke those words, Lieutenant." "I didn't mean them like that," Marcus said carefully. "On Earth, it's a friendly compliment. A way to put someone at ease." "You intended diplomacy?" "I intended not to make it awkward." "Failed that one." There was a long silence. The lights around her pulsed a gentle shade of indigo. Marcus had no idea what that meant, but it felt contemplative. "Your intention," she said at last, "was flawed, but not dishonorable." "That's good. It is rare for a Xelari to be surprised." "You surprised me." She rose, walked over to a shelf lined with crystalline artifacts, and returned with a small disc. She tapped it once. A translucent image projected in the air, a pattern of shifting colors, subtle pulses. "This is the Vectar, the pattern of understanding. In our culture, it is offered when 2 beings wish to explore shared truth. Not courtship, yet, but the foundation beneath it." Marcus studied the hologram. "So you're saying we're not betrothed?" She tilted her head. "Not unless you wish to be. Let's stick with cultural exchange. Acceptable." She tapped the projection again. A new image formed, an itinerary. "We will begin a series of sessions. Language, physiology, ethics, sensory alignment. At the end, we will either part with knowledge gained or take the next step." He blinked. "Next step being?" She smiled.
"Barely."
"You would not require socks." Marcus laughed. He couldn't help it. It bubbled out of him, breaking the tension like a hammer through ice. Thalzia blinked, surprised again. "Why do you laugh?" "Because this is insane," he said, grinning. "But also kind of amazing. 1 minute, I'm giving a tour. The next, I'm knee-deep in an interstellar bonding ritual because I opened my big human mouth." "I am beginning to understand your species' tendency toward chaos," she said. He stood, extending a hand. "Then let's exchange some chaos for logic. I'll teach you about humor and coffee. You teach me about not accidentally proposing to people." She looked at his hand, then clasped it in a firm, 2-handed Xelari gesture. The lights in the room dimmed subtly, a sign of shared agreement. "For now," she said, "you are my cultural liaison. But be warned, Marcus Vance." He raised a brow. "Warned. My people bond for life. If we reach full resonance, there is no reversal." He swallowed hard, suddenly aware of the gravity behind the glowing eyes and calm voice. "Noted." She stepped back. "Your first lesson is in 3 hours.
Rest.
Hydrate. Do not wear synthetic fiber. It causes mild insult." He saluted, half ironically. "Yes, Commander." As the door closed behind him, Marcus leaned against the wall and exhaled. He had no idea what he'd just agreed to. But something told him Earth's first great interstellar romance was about to get a whole lot weirder. Trial by fire. 3 weeks into his accidental courtship assignment, Marcus Vance had developed a surprising routine aboard the Sovereign Light. Mornings were spent in structured resonance familiarity sessions with Commander Thalzia, essentially therapy, anthropology, and awkward flirting all in one. Afternoons involved physical drills, learning to fight with Xelari staff weapons, and evenings were cultural debriefings over a nutrient-rich, but flavorless, Xelari broth he nicknamed Hot Sadness Soup. Despite the initial tension, things had become almost comfortable, until the distress signal came. Thalzia stood beside him on the bridge, her bioluminescent markings flickering in faint amber, a Xelari sign of alert focus. A signal from Sector 9 Theta, she said. Unregistered origin. Triangulated source. A drifting alien structure. Age and architecture unknown. Marcus squinted at the readings. No power signature, but no decay either. That thing shouldn't be intact after 10,000 years. Which is why we will investigate. Shouldn't we call for backup?
She turned to him.
Do you fear the unknown, Lieutenant?
I don't fear it, he said.
I just don't trust it. An hour later, they stood side by side in the heart of a derelict structure orbiting a dead star. The place was massive, ancient stone fused with what looked like living metal, walls humming with dormant power. The rest of the away team fanned out, scanning the area. It's too quiet, Marcus said. Silence does not imply safety, Thalzia replied, scanning a wall etched with alien runes. These markings, they are warnings. Marcus moved closer, brushing a layer of dust off a panel. Let me guess. Something like, don't touch the glowy stuff? Then the panel lit up. The entire chamber came alive in an instant. Lights pulsing, walls shifting, mechanical whirs echoing like distant drums. Energy barriers slammed into place, locking half the team out. Drones emerged from the ceiling, sleek, insectal machines with needle-like limbs and humming plasma blades. Marcus barely had time to react before one lunged at him. He ducked, rolled, and fired his sidearm. 3 rounds ricocheted off its shield before a 4th struck something critical. Sparks exploded.
It dropped.
Retreat, Thalzia ordered, blocking a drone with her staff weapon, sparks flying as plasma clashed with alien alloy. We're boxed in, Marcus yelled. There's no exit behind us. Another drone dropped from the ceiling. Marcus tackled Thalzia out of its path, both of them crashing against the floor. Her energy shield shimmered around them for a moment before shorting out. Thalzia winced, clutching her side. You're hit. Glancing strike. Focus. He grabbed her staff, parried another drone, and fired upward, taking out a power node in the ceiling. The remaining drones faltered, sparks flying. The room dimmed again, the defense systems failing. Panting, Marcus knelt beside her. Can you walk? She nodded, but her voice was strained. Minimal damage. We must extract. Later, back aboard the Sovereign Light, medtechs surrounded Thalzia while Marcus paced outside the recovery chamber. After a few minutes, the doors hissed open. You may enter, the medic said. Inside, Thalzia sat upright, her side bandaged in a silver glow wrap. She looked up as he entered. You should not have exposed yourself, she said flatly. You're welcome, Marcus replied. I'm not just your +1 for cultural dinners, remember? I'm trained for danger. She studied him in silence. You faced an unknown threat.
You shielded me.
You adapted quickly. That is admirable. Coming from you, he said, sitting beside her, I'll take that as a declaration of deep emotional resonance. Her markings pulsed lavender amusement. Do not test me, Vance. He hesitated, then added more seriously, You could have died. That scared me. Thalzia tilted her head. Does that mean the resonance is no longer unintentional? Marcus exhaled. I don't know what to call it. But I know this. I didn't jump in front of plasma drones because of a mistake I made in a terrarium. I did it because you matter. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she extended her hand. Then perhaps we proceed beyond understanding. He took it. Whatever this was becoming, it was real now. Hearts of two worlds. The United Earth Xelari Alliance Summit was, by all diplomatic accounts, a historic event. Dozens of species gathered in orbit around neutral moon 7, inside a crystalline dome suspended between gravity and starlight. To Lieutenant Marcus Vance, it just felt like a high-stakes first date. He adjusted his collar again. Is this really necessary? Public speech, spotlight, everyone staring like we're the opening act for galactic unification. Commander Thalzia stood beside him, calm and radiant in ceremonial robes lined with silver-threaded glyphs. Her bioluminescent markings glowed in subtle shades of rose and sapphire, colors Marcus had learned were associated with vulnerability and anticipation. She tilted her head. It is tradition. 2 representatives. 2 voices. 1 step forward. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm not great with steps. I fall upstairs. She touched his arm. Then I will catch you. A signal pulsed across the room. Their turn. The grand dais shimmered as they stepped forward. Murmurs rippled through the gathered audience. Ambassadors, generals, scientists, and curious onlookers from half a dozen systems. Marcus took a deep breath, nodded to Thalzia, and stepped up to the podium. Ladies, gentlemen, species without gender, and sentience of variable phase, hi. I'm Lieutenant Marcus Vance of Earth, and I would like to start this address by saying, I made a mistake. Several eyebrows and equivalent alien appendages raised. He continued, I told an alien woman she had beautiful eyes. Seems harmless, right? Back home, it's a compliment. Flirtatious at most. But in her culture, it was more. It was sacred, intimate, maybe even a little reckless. Thalzia stepped beside him. Among my people, such words initiate bonding rites. To hear them unexpectedly, and from a human, was unprecedented. Marcus glanced at her, then back at the crowd. We panicked. We stumbled. We argued over soup and philosophy. We fought plasma drones and nearly died together. And through all that, we realized something. Thalzia nodded. That understanding begins not in safety, but in confusion. Not in perfect knowledge, but in the willingness to bridge a gap neither fully comprehends. The room was quiet. Listening. Marcus gestured between them. She thinks I'm chaotic and irrational. I think she's terrifying and elegant. We're both right, but we're still here. Talking. Learning. Connecting. Thalzia's voice softened. If we can find harmony in our clashing truths, then perhaps so can our people. Silence. Then, slow, rising applause, hands, wings, tentacles, and sonic pulses echoing through the summit hall. Afterward, in the private suite reserved for Xelari dignitaries, Marcus sat on a curved obsidian bench, breathing easier. That went well, he said. Didn't throw up, cry, or trip over my boots. You are truthful, Thalzia said, standing near the window. And disarming. As usual. He grinned. It's my best trait. Right after inadvertently causing interspecies diplomatic incidents. She turned toward him, holding something in her hands. A thin chain of silver and crystal with a softly glowing pendant in the center, shaped like a lens, shifting in hue with her touch. This, she said, is a Xelari ocular prism. It represents clarity, shared sight, and resonance. She stepped forward, placing it in his hand. I offer it freely. No obligation. No ritual. Marcus held it gently. It's beautiful. You said the same of my eyes, she replied. He looked up, meeting her gaze. Eyes still alien, still mesmerizing, and now unmistakably familiar. I meant it, he said. Thalzia blinked slowly, a subtle smile forming. Then prepare for a lifetime of unexpected reactions. Marcus stood, looping the chain around his neck. Sounds like a hell of an adventure. She extended her hand, and he took it without hesitation. No longer by mistake. No longer out of confusion. But because 2 worlds, 2 truths had finally aligned.